Okay, this is day three. Day three was a 183.7 mile, 3 hour mat. It turned out to be almost perfect. I think a few people might have pipped an extra turn in, but it wasn't anything significant. Average speeds just over 60 in our class. We had one land out, John Cochran. And the other thing I did here, because I just thought it was fairly exciting, is I added Dick Butler's trace, who I believe had the exact same task, and slowly caught up and almost got through the 18-meter class, but at the end a few guys got by him. His average speed 62.38, and the fastest 18-meter speed was Jersey at 62.63. So the 29 did essentially the same speed, but the difference is that Dick Butler was dry. So figure water might have added 3, 4, 5%. It just gives you an idea. I'm sure Jersey today was half full to 3/4 full. And had a fantastic day. Second was Shaq Roberts, who is an impressive pilot. Second for the contest, very close to Doug Jacobs before he left on the last day. Doug was third, 18 points behind Jersey. Fourth, Pete Alexander, very solid day, 61.27, so only a few tenths slower than Jersey and Doug. And Robert, sixth. Myself, just under 60 at 59.47. Seventh is Sergey at 58.01. Eighth, Frank Painter. I missed Ken. Ken was fifth. And ninth, John Murray, who started very early and flew by himself. So I think that's commendable, although it probably was better to fly in the pack today. 10th, Tim Wells, who struggled a little bit. I don't think he made it around the last turn and was with the gaggle. I'm not sure what happened. We'll take a look. And then 11th, Rob Ware. And let's see, Rob made it around, but a little slower than the rest. Some 50 minutes later. And 12th, Roger Buchanan, and 13th was John Cochran, who probably was within striking distance of winning the day, and just got low and got stuck going into the last turn point. Okay, so let's start. Here you can see the task. Perry, start cylinder 2, I believe. Don Bells, Twin Lakes. What is this? Barnwell County, Orangeburg, Williston, Coleman's, and then back to the finish. Zoom in a little bit here on the start cylinder. So today was huge start gate roulette. Everybody waited I think it was probably well over an hour, and the pack was essentially together stalking each other for this entire period of time. Let me slow it down here just a little. So you have the normal probing. Climb rates are, let me reorganize this real quickly. We've got average vario. Vario, I'd like to get those together. Okay. So it was a little weak here to begin with. I'm not seeing any climb rates much above 2 knots. There's Rob Ware with a 2.1. I think it was a 5,000 foot start cylinder today, and everyone struggled to get there. I think everyone went out the side at about 45, maybe 4,800 feet. There's a 3-knot climb per second. So you can see we've been flying for a good hour here, and nobody's in a big hurry to get started. So here the gaggle finally begins to form up. I think this group is right here, yeah, on the very first leg side of the cylinder. Looks like Rob Ware and Roger Buchanan have started already, and LX has also started really early, so that's interesting. It looks like John started 20 minutes ago, so he's making a gamble on the weather getting weaker, and I do think that the pack here was in danger of ending the day. I think the finishes were well after 5 o'clock and maybe a little later. I can't remember exactly this late after the contest. Looks like Frank Painter left really early, and I think we catch him. He must come back. So the pack hanging out here at 4,500 feet. We're definitely wound up here doing 90 knots. Looks like they're descending now below 4,000, down to 4,000. So maybe 4,500 feet was the top of the cylinder today. Okay, there goes the pack. So it must be right around 4,500 feet. Although I'm up, where am I here? Still in a turn. There go Doug Jacobs and Robert Shack right in tow. There goes Ken, there goes Jersey. There's John Cochran and myself. So perhaps I'm going out the top here. I can't remember whether it's 4,500 or 5. And it looks like I went out at, I don't know, 4,700 feet. So let's call it 45, and I went out the top, but not significantly deep back in the start cylinder. So there you can see John was the last starter, has us in sight, although he's quite a bit below me. He's 500 feet below. We started maybe a minute or two behind. And everybody's strung out in the normal pack. I think that's it. There's nobody behind. So essentially, what I was thinking was great. Doug Jacobs and Shaq Roberts started out ahead of me 3 or 4 minutes, and let's try and grind them down. Frank Painter has started quite a bit of ways, quite a ways ahead. John Murray started probably a half hour ahead. There's Sergey out ahead. So really the only guy who started behind me was John Cochran, who ends up landing out. So I'm essentially the last starter, and I immediately catch up with the pack. So I think it was maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and I was able to gain the time and get into a comfortable position here. Shaq Roberts always happy to trail, even more than I am, and looks like went in the very back edge of this turn cylinder. 1.9 knots, not great. I think I was dumped a little water here. You can see John Cochran catching up, and the pack assembles. So there's Ken Sorensen, who's a little 2,900. I'm at 3,700. And so I'm above the pack and behind. I'm happy as a clam. Pull back a little bit. You always notice that John Cochran is happy to be near the pack, but experiment around the edges of the pack. He's wins some days, has some extremely strong days, has a really good day here, and it's just something that you note about watching him fly. He's not like me. He's not like Shaq Roberts, who generally is happy to be with the pack. He's always looking for a way to edge him out and get away, which I think is good, although he's a little low here right now. So by the way, here's the 18 meter, whoops. Here's the 18 meter pack, and back here you can see the Concordia that's a mile radius, so 2 miles, so maybe 3 or 4 miles behind. So we started 5 minutes behind the 18 meter pack. Worth noting is they'll catch up later. So let's see here, a 3.1 knot climb for me. John gets into it first, a little lower, and gets 4.4 knot average for 1,500 feet and catches back up essentially. And the pecking order here is typical. Jersey usually leads, Ken Sorensen a little below him, but happy to lead and extend as well. And Shaq Roberts always happy to stalk at the back. There's less risks there, and he's happy to have the visibility of all the markers ahead. Slow this down a little bit. It's a little hard to follow, even though this may take a little longer. Looks like the guys ahead are in something, so let's see what Sergey has. 3.5 knots for 1,000 feet. I'm back here with the group 2.2 knots for 381 feet. So just to give you an idea of thermal selection. You can see Ken is pushed out, he's pretty low with Doug. John's pushed ahead. John's down to 3,200. .9 knots. Crap. So it looks like 5 or 6 turns there. Concordia still sitting back there. Uh-oh, there's Tango Alpha. It got really low. So Tango Alpha had a so-so day, 3-4 miles per hour off the average pace. He started early, got low, it looks like, and here he is climbing out of, he maybe got down to 1,000 feet here. He's at 1,900 feet climbing in 2 knots. So it's always interesting to see when the major things happen, but there's where TA got stuck and lost his 5 minutes, although he catches back up and works with the pack for most of the task. 4 knots for 1,000 feet, so here's a solid climb. You can see John working on his own, and Ken here up ahead in 1.7 knots, so he's going to lose a little bit on that one. Shaq Roberts always hanging out in the back. So here we are coming into Twin Lakes. You can see John going right to the back corner, maximizing his distance under the US rules. This distance is counted, unlike FAI, where you touch it and you don't get any additional distance. So let's see, Sergey's on top there in 3.4 knots for 1,300 feet. Definitely made a gain. Looks like we're catching Rob Ware and W3 here. A little bit. 2.5 knots for 1,000 feet here for 7 Tango. So here's TA still digging out. He actually does a really good job of catching up, and here's the Concordia. Pulling in below us. .3 knots, 892 feet, so a 3 knot average day. I think I was half full of water at this point, or perhaps 3/4. I'm sure Jersey, I'm sure Sergey and Doug Jacobs were full. So 4,100 feet, BB's at 29. What do I get? Nothing. I do 1 and out. R9's getting a little low there. So Doug Jacobs, Jersey, leading the gaggle. So what did Jersey have here? No, it wasn't much. He didn't stay for long. Here I am in 2 knots. It's like 3 turns. Rob Ware. Where's Concordia? So Concordia dropped way back. It was just below us. There he is. So he's struggling to keep up with the 18-meter pack a little bit, but he is dry. So you got Doug Jacobs and Jersey pushing out lower ahead, followed by Sergey, followed by Ken Sorensen, John Cochran, Pete Alexander, Tim Wells, Shaq Roberts, and Sean Fiddler. And there's the Concordia. Looks like about a mile and a half behind. Concordia pulling into 3 knots for 1,000 feet there. And John Murray leading us well out ahead. The gaggle catches up to Jersey and Doug. They're not able to break ahead clean yet. Tim Wells a little below. Tango Alpha caught up to Concordia, although it looks like it's a little below. Okay, I have a little memory problem here on my boot camp, so let's start again. I think we're in about the right spot. So Tim Wells has fallen a little bit back. You still have Ken leading the gaggle, Jersey and Doug, 7 Tango, Sergey, John Cochran, Pete Alexander, and Robert Shack. So coming into the back corner, again, everybody's happy and going fast, so maximizing the distance into the mat 1 mile radius turns. In US rules, you can get the distance, the added, I suppose, mile, maybe 1.8 miles by going to the back corner as opposed to the front. So a huge 4.3 knot climb here, the whole group gets it. Now Tim has caught up. They must have found a big climb back there. Tango Alpha catching up a little bit. Ken continuing to lead. Jersey and Doug, who I think are carrying a lot of water. At this point, I think I'm half full. John Cochran. There's the Concordia, and there's Sergey above and behind. So this is the lead of the 18-meter pack, with the exception of John Murray, who's way out in front. Behind has been left behind Robert Shack, Pete Alexander, Tango Alpha, Roger Buchanan. Over the town of Bamberg. It's like a 2.8 knot climb, 1,200 feet or so. Actually, I remember this now. I'm full of water at this point. And what happens is, what we think happened is I actually carry my water too long. And, you know, I'm not flying quite as good as Jersey or Doug or John or Robert Shack, probably most of this crowd. Tango Alpha has caught up from a big deficit, so that's a huge comeback for Frank. Great job. Dick Butler, and this was an exciting time of the flight for me. For that whole last run, I was directly behind the Concordia and flying in very close proximity to it in this task, which is an honor and a treat. Absolutely amazing glider to see flying in the air and see the way the wings are almost, you know, they're almost like noodles. You can see the flex even wing to wing. So I've started to get low in the gaggle here. Just got jumped by the Concordia, Pete, John, and Sergey. So falling back a half a mile and a little below. And Jersey took it on the nose there a little bit, as did Ken. And Frank caught right up. Doug Jacobs got low. He looks like he went a couple thermals ahead and tried to make something happen. And looks like he's 1,000 feet below or so. Look at those radiuses. Don't ever say the Concordia can't turn tight. So here we are going into the Orangeburg turn. And let's take a pause here. John Cochran has started to chew everybody up a little bit. He's out ahead now pretty cleanly and above. You got Sergey, Jersey, who just a minute was well below me, and I was jumped ahead. I remember wondering what the hell happened. Doug Jacobs, Ken, all these guys went a little deeper into this turn than I did, and then the Concordia getting every ounce of distance out of the Orangeburg turn. Tim Wells got dropped here a little bit, off flying on his own. So let's pause here. Doug Jacobs pulls into a 4.5 knot climb for 1,600 feet. I'd say that's going to work well. I'm in 3.5 for 466 and definitely leave this climb too soon. Sort of rambunctious and trying to keep up with John and this group. You can see Doug, Robert Shack, and Tango Alpha. So there goes Concordia and John Cochran, followed by Jersey, Pete Alexander, 7 Tango, and Mike Sierra, Sergey. .53 LD, but these guys are doing a lot more. So even at a 53 LD here, a little bit into the wind, I was just getting killed by Jersey, getting killed by Pete. I was doing okay with Sergey, but I lost a lot there in that last run. So I'm well below now, probably 1,000 feet below Jersey. Let's take a look. This is a pretty disconcerting moment here. Where are you, Jersey? Jersey's at 37. I'm at 28. So I'm starting to get into an ugly situation, and I think I'm starting to drop a little bit of water, finally. But I don't drop it all until I get down to about 1,500 feet. Ways down this a little bit further down this leg. You can see John Murray, the gaggles almost caught him. It looked like he maybe started 20 minutes, 30 minutes ahead of the group. So it's always tough to fly by yourself on a blue day in an assigned task. So I'm really struggling here down to 2,700 feet, 32 to 1 LD, but everybody's low here, or almost everybody's low. Except for Jersey, who is extracting 83 to 1 at this point in this run. Doug Jacobs, 49 to 1. 9857 to 1. Pete Alexander. So they were behind me a little bit, or I didn't feel like turning. And Jersey pulls into crap, so that's good news. So I'm down to 1,800 feet here, starting to get a little desperate. Jersey pulls into the next climb with a gaggle of 4 other gliders and nothing yet. I get 0.8 knots here down to 1,900 feet. I'm sure I'm not happy about that. And I move on. So actually the leaders go back to Jersey's thermal, and I isolate myself out ahead down to 1615, AGL 13, and find 2.6 knots and go up 1,500 feet. But I've essentially lost the gaggle. So here goes John flying over me at 35, and I'm at 2, so 1,500 feet below. There goes Concordia. Don't say long wings don't work. So this is pretty depressing. That's the way the cookie crumbles. It's almost imperceivable what I did wrong there. But I just let myself get too low and lost touch. But I keep my head in the game here, climb up to 3,200, and get 167 to 1 LD here for 3 miles. So I'm figuring something out. There we go, 4 knots for 750 feet. John Murray's already back at the field. Actually, let me take a quick look here. Did John Murray land out? No. Made it. So oddly enough, our leader up here, John Cochran, is going to land out shortly, which, considering his flight starting last, essentially, and leading the group, he just got a little too low here in the last turn area. I found 3.9 knots for 1,400 feet. That is very timely and gets me back in the game a little. You can see here John Cochran down low at the Coleman turn point. X-Ray Golf, Jersey at 3,400 feet. Probably his final glide from there. $36 to 1 LD, and it looks like I take this into final glide. Well, the only good news is that I started last, so some of this deficit here that I've lost on these guys is absorbed by that period of time. See John there landed at Coleman. And I just touch the last turn and fly home. Remember, I could see Concordia here. And Tango Alpha bumps out and probably tries to get credit for Caraway's turn point, as looks like Foxtrot Charlie did as well. Probably not a bad idea. Dick Butler, also 36 to 1. Alright, so Roger Cochran still flying. Let's speed it up. Or no, that's Rob Ware. Alright, so let's go back to the scores. First was Jersey by a reasonable margin, 18 points over Doug Jacobs. They're just like glue to the front of the pack and extremely efficient. Third for the day was, so first is Jersey, second is Shaq Roberts, who got a little extra distance hitting that last turn, number 10, along with Frank Painter. Third, Doug Jacobs. Fourth, Pete Alexander. Fifth, Ken Sorensen. I got sixth. I was surprised. I started last, did a good job, and finished 8 minutes over. So you can see here Doug and Jersey a little bit better timing, which contributed greatly to their average speed. And seventh place, Sergey, a 58 average, almost equal with mine. 8th, Frank Painter. 9th, John Murray, who flew entirely by himself. I think that's fairly impressive. 10th, Tim Wells, who got dropped a little bit there on that 4th leg. 11th, Rob Ware, who flew by himself most of the task as well. 12th, Roger Buchanan, and John, who ended up landing out and losing a lot of points on this day, but 3/4 of the way through the task was leading. So that was a really fun task. It was fun flying, fun flying with the group. I really enjoyed the assigned area task with Matt in this case. It was perfectly called. Got to fly with Dick Butler for a while and did fairly well. So good day and good fun. Thanks for watching.